The greatest man is always willing to be little. So I really, really love this quote. And Shauna McArthur used this as her intro for the episode on today's podcast, Real Moms Podcast. And it really proves that no matter how big or small you are, you don't ever need to act like you are above anybody else. So whether you're the CEO, the co-founder of a business, just know that you are never above doing janitorial work or anything like that. So it just really shows who you are as a person, and that you are never bigger or better than anybody else, depending on your status of the business. So take a listen. It was a really good deep dive into this episode. Hello, fellow mompreneurs. Welcome to the Real Moms Podcast, the go-to space for resilient entrepreneurs who are striving for abundant living. I'm your host, Shea, a mompreneur and a realtor here in Columbus, Nebraska. Are you a mom juggling the hustle of entrepreneurship, family life, and personal growth? Well, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we dive deep into the real, unfiltered stories of incredible women who are navigating the journey of mompreneurship. We'll celebrate the victories, share practical insights, and acknowledge that it's okay to face challenges along the way. Success isn't about the destination. It's about the journey and the growth we experience as we balance our careers and the chaos of family life. Whether you're a seasoned mompreneur or just starting on this exciting path, join me and our amazing guests as we explore what it truly means to be a resilient entrepreneur striving for abundant living. Get ready for real, raw, and remarkable conversations that will inspire and uplift you. Because here at the Real Moms Podcast, we believe in the power of community, authenticity, and the strength that comes from embracing the journey together. So grab your coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's dive into the world of mompreneurship. This is the Real Moms Podcast, where we celebrate the hustle, honor the struggle, and thrive as resilient entrepreneurs living abundantly. Welcome to another episode of Real Moms Podcast. I like to start every podcast off with a motivational quote, and today's quote, I actually have two of them, is the greatest man is always willing to be little and build a longer table, not a higher fence. We'll jump into that here in a little bit. But today I have Shauna McArthur. She is a dedicated realtor with 10 years of experience helping families with their perfect homes, or families find their perfect homes. With a background as an executive assistant into top producing teams, Shauna brings unmatched organizations, negotiation skills, and a passion for smooth transactions. Beyond her professional expertise, Shauna is a proud wife, mom, and a child advocate who understands the unique challenges moms face. She's here to share her journey, bring insights into balancing work and family, and tips for navigating the real estate world. Let's get to know Shauna and her inspiring story. So Shauna, thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate you taking the time, especially when you have some sick family members.
That I do. Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a whole house. We're all overcoming something, and the two strongest ones in my house are down for the count. So I have to step up.
That's how you know it's a good one, right?
Yeah.
That's how you know it's a strong one.
It's taking them out. It's really taking them out.
Well, and that's kind of what we were talking about before. That's part of the path of mompreneurship.
Yep.
You probably initially planned on being at your office. Now you're at your home office because people are sick, and that's just how it goes.
We're gonna occasionally have a dog in the background. And,
Yep.
maybe a couple footsteps here and there
Yep.
from the second story. We'll figure it out as we move along. But yeah, that is exactly it. Yep. That's the blessing of real estate, though, is you really can do it from anywhere. And so even if we're having a mompreneurship conversation wrapped around our similarities in real estate, we can do this from anywhere. So thank you for your flexibility and allowing me to be here today from my home office where my house is sick.
Absolutely. So tell me, Shauna, a little bit about your real estate journey and what led you to where you are at today.
So I grew up in an investment family. My entire life was an investment family. So my parents owned multiple doors in our small little town that I grew up in Northern California. And I really didn't start to grasp why they owned so many homes until I was probably early teens. And then obviously in high school, I was really irritated by it because all I spent was my weekends mowing lawns and collecting rent. But that was a whole nother story. I always actually had an interest in it. I knew it was a great way to create a fantastic foundation for your family.
Mm-hmm.
but then I moved here into Northern Nevada and met my husband and had some kids, and life took in a totally different turn. So despite me always wanting to work real estate, I needed to stay home with my babies. And the only way for me to do that at the time with the expenses of childcare was to open up my own daycare. So I started off owning my own in-home daycare. I own an in-home daycare, and it was fantastic, and I loved it so much. But I woke up one day at like 4 o'clock in the morning and rolled over and told my husband I was done. I was going to get into real estate. I said, we were selling our house. We are making this change, because even though I loved what I was doing, I knew it wasn't what I was best at, which is talking to people. I'm the lady who makes the friends, who makes like a million friends actually in the grocery store checkout line. When you're talking to a bunch of kids that are 6 years or younger all day long about, dirty, stinky diapers and singing the alphabet, it wore on me. Yeah. So we had some medical little setbacks that were derailing us, and it was just a perfect opportunity to jump right in. So that's exactly what I did. I called my own realtor and said, hey, list my home. And he said, what are you going to do without a daycare? I've only ever known you to do daycare. And I said, I'm going to go into real estate. And he said, nope, I'll take you. So immediately before my home was even on the market to try to do this huge life change, I already had a career in real estate.
That's awesome. That is
amazing. And that was it.
How long did you do childcare?
10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I give props. What's that?
I said, I'm an old lady.
No, not at all. I give so much props to people who run a daycare, and then honestly, even stay-at-home moms, because mentally, no way. Like no. Yeah,
I think that's actually the part that came to me in daycare land, because I love kids. Yes. I'm passionate about them. I'm so dedicated, and we've done every volunteer opportunity. We've had 2 young boys in our household under guardianships. We've done what we needed to do to make sure everybody is safe and sound. I love kids, but I do think that I started to feel that stay-at-home mom setback, anxiety, sadness. I'm not sure what it really was. I was overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. I loved it. I loved every single baby that was in my care. I loved every single one. I cried so hard every time I sent them off into kindergarten. It was just a beautiful thing, but I also hated it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I woke up one day and decided this was not for me. But again, I was also juggling things. You're working a 12-hour day. My kids are starting to get busy. I was saying, hey, I need everyone to be on time. I would have 2 or 3 parents that would consistently not come on time. Mm-hmm. So it was 12-hour days, 5 days a week. And I had enough, and so we had to take care of some medical stuff and sold our house. And I wasn't sure, maybe I would sell and buy somewhere else and reopen the daycare or put a pause on it. And then while we were in transition, remodeling the house that we're currently in, I said, no, I'm not going back to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So did not come back to it.
Right. You seem to be fantastic. Pretty emotional about it.
It was probably my 3rd hardest life decision I've ever made, because it devastated me. Right. It was a beautiful, hard decision that I know I needed to do, because I could feel it in my bones, but it was so hard to walk away from. Yeah. Right. It was very, very hard. And fortunately, all of my daycare parents are great friends, fortunately with social media and staying in the same city and state, most of them at some point have bought or sold a house with me. So they support my business. I support them. One of them right now is actually in a contract with me. So every time I see them, I get to giant hug their super tall teenager, right, who at one point was this little babbling toddler with the best vocabulary in the world for a little tiny kiddo. So it was beautiful. It just took a long time to navigate past. Yeah, it was very emotional. Very. And it was a dramatic life change. We went from big, fancy, beautiful home, mom staying at home running a daycare, to little, poopy fixer-upper in a better school zoning that still honestly is a fixer-upper.
It never ends. We bought a fixer-upper back in 2018, and we still live there. And we did a lot back then, but there's always something. There's always something that can be done, even on brand new homes. So
I agree. I love this house, but a lot of it also was just that my home never felt like my home. Mm-hmm. I had to share it. with 6 to 10 other families every single week. So it never felt like mine. This one, we can make a mess. No one's coming over. I don't have
Right.
to worry about stress at cleaning. I can take curtains out of a, curtain bag and
Yeah.
just hang them up.
Oh, instead of ironing them or
Yep.
washing them
Yep.
or whatever.
I don't even have to. I could look at those creases and be like, they'll naturally fall out. We're fine. That's a
The
mom
sun will beat
decision.
on
That's
them
a
and warm it up and straighten them out. It'll be fine. It'll be
Yeah, eventually the sun will hit them just right. It'll be great. So little things
it's the
like
little
that.
things. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
But no, it was
Uh,
great. Yeah, I loved it. That's what started me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I believe, and I could be wrong, but I feel like when people, especially, stay-at-home moms, like you love it and you love being home with your kids, but there comes a point where you almost realize that you kind of lost who you were as a
Yep.
person because you
Yes.
became the mom. You are a mom. And you're like, well, what else am I
Yep.
outside of mom? And then I think that's kind of where that downward spiral. I also think that's kind of where midlife crisis comes from is
Yeah.
when people are not doing the thing that fulfills them and what they're passionate for. I think they get to a job, they maybe do an internship, and then like they're there for 30 years and they wake up one day and they're like, holy shit, this isn't where I wanted my life to go.
Yep.
But they never took those chances or their risks to step outside their comfort zone because it was easy doing those things.
Oh, you're so true. That is so true. It is absolutely I haven't hit my midlife crisis point yet, but I do have a 17-year-old who firmly believes I have. But I think
Well,
that's because I like some of the trendy styles right now. So when I try
right,
to dress,
right,
like maybe a 20-year-old, she's like,
right.
"Mom, that's your midlife crisis calling."
I'll
So
take it. If that's my
I,
midlife crisis because I'm changing my style, by all means. I
I
just
just feel
want
like
to like,
look okay. I like listen, if I feel like I look cute, then I feel happy about myself. And I'm a bigger person. So if I can find clothing that makes me feel slightly on trend,
yeah,
then I'm pretty excited about it. I
right.
don't think it's a midlife crisis, but I do
No.
think you're right as far as that emotion. I do believe so. I luckily in daycare land, I was still a very busy mom. I was still volunteering at the ballet studio. I ran my son's, Cub Scouts. And my husband was a baseball coach. Like we had all those things.
Mhm.
And so we had the stimulation to be out and about and flexible and helping. But you sit at home alone, yeah, for 12 hours a day talking to a bunch of kids. You have 2.5 hours a day while they're all in absolute silent nap, just twiddling your thumbs, thinking how many times can you call your own mom because you're bored,
Right.
it wears on you.
It
It,
is.
it was it was it was a great run. I loved it. I loved it. I will never do it again. That's,
Right.
that's
There's so
where
many things that you were meant to do that at that time, but you're like, I'll never go back. I'll never
I
do that
I
again. It was
listen.
horrible.
I'm pretty sure I was born like a sailor in a past life because I have the mouth of it. I have the mouth that everyone tells you professionals don't have. Well, guess what? I'm a professional and I can swear all day, every day. I can swear from morning, noon to night. I don't care. I'm gonna swear. It's me. You
Yeah.
can't even do that around daycare kids. You can't swear. So like 5:31 would hit and then all the words would come out, or my drive to the gym was really aggressive for no reason because you just had to like
Let it out. You couldn't be
yeah,
yourself
you
for
had to be
12
a
hours.
grown up at a whole
Yeah.
different time of the day. And
Oh,
that also was very restricting.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Believe
it was
it.
fun.
I
Yeah.
believe it. Yeah, it is very challenging and it kind of reminded me, I mean, when I transitioned from my previous brokerage to where I'm at now, it was the best decision, but the hardest decision. And I know
Oh,
people were just like, Shay, then why did you do it? If it's so hard, why are you crying all the time? I cried a lot before, I cried a lot after. Like anybody would say something, I'm like, I don't know. But I knew it was what I needed to do. I
yeah.
remember that gut feeling and I'm like, holy shit, holy moly. Like I was like, I have to do this. And my husband,
Yeah.
he's a very analytical person. He's like, well, what about this? And what about that? He's pointing out all the things that could go wrong. And I finally got to the point, I was like, Adam, I don't want to hear it. I don't want you to tell me all the things that could go wrong because I know them. But I need to focus on the future. I need to focus on the bigger.
Yeah.
because I know by staying here, I am not going to get where I want to go. And it's not going to push me outside my comfort zone. Now, it was the best decision, but it was one of the hardest. And I cried a lot before,
Uh,
a lot after, all of the things. So,
isn't it so sad that decisions we're making that we know, you and I know, every other mom we know, decisions we make that we know are fantastic for us can put us in that much grief.
right.
Just period. I mean, we run into that with maybe a friend that we know that's in an abusive relationship, right? Like everybody knows the right thing to do. And it is so emotionally hard to juggle. Yeah.
The hard part, though, is that a lot of people don't capitalize on the things that they know that they
Yeah.
need to do. You know what I mean? And
Correct.
I think that's
Yeah.
why most people don't grow and get to where they want to go because it's easier to stay where you're at.
Yeah.
It's going to be very hard to make that change in those challenges. It's extremely hard. I had to make another change and challenge here recently, and it was extremely a difficult decision, but I was like, I need to do this. I have to commit. We're doing a development, and I'm putting up like basically all my assets, and it's a huge gut wrenching feeling because if it
Yeah.
doesn't work out, my husband's like, so what happens? I'm like, he's like, could we lose it all? I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah. He's like, okay, well then what? I'm like, well, then we start over. And in my mind, I'm like, we don't start over because I have my mentality, I have my experience,
Yep.
but it was still a very gut wrenching decision and
Yep.
scary. But I
It'll
am
be great.
uncomfortable, so I know I'm growing.
I had a friend of mine that for years, and he is in real estate, and he would always say stagnant brings sadness,
Mhm.
and that was him. But he also was a broker hopper, so but
He was
that
like,
was like
he probably couldn't
his
find his
real.
own, he couldn't find his place.
Yeah, we just would talk about it at lunch, and he's like, maybe I'm not finding the happiness I need, and he's like, but that stagnant brings sadness, and I'm like, yeah, but maybe this does too. Like, I don't know. Yeah, there's I applaud
Maybe
you for
broker hopping
taking.
is this too.
I was like, is that what he means by stagnant? It's finding a new broker
Right,
all the time. Yeah,
right.
but different. I think it's totally different. I think we're riskier.
Hmm.
I think women are riskier. I
Hmm.
definitely, as much as I don't want to say this, I do think we're more emotionally
Oh,
attached to things. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of women out there, and trust me, I'm this much feminist too.
Hmm.
And they will say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was said. Absolutely not. No, we're not. We are. We
Yeah.
are.
Oh,
We are.
absolutely.
Yeah. We make decisions with our heart.
You can't
And
be
it's
naive.
just,
You can't be naive and say we are not emotional creatures because I do have to remind myself when I am in an emotional state, either high or low. When emotions are high, logic is low. So
yes.
you get to a point where you have to realize, okay, well, am I being irrational? Am I being in an emotional state, high or low? And so does that cause me that I'm not thinking rationally? So
Yep.
where a lot of women don't maybe take that step back and realize that, but you need to because we are emotional creatures. I'll proud to admit that.
Yeah. Me too. I have zero shame. I'm like, let
Hmm.
me cry it out.
Yeah.
Let me, let me figure
I'm
out
gonna
this.
cry it out and then I'll be over it. We'll be good to go.
I have a bunch of little odds and ends probably going to be with me forever medical stuff with my husband a few weeks ago. I was like, how often do you think you cry? And I was like, every day. It's every day. But I am also a very tall, strong, empowering, vocal, intimidating personality. So if someone standing next to us would have heard that, they would have probably balked and said, there's absolutely no way.
Right.
Bet your buns I do. Bet
Right.
your buns. There's at least a tear a day. Yeah, it happens.
Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy though? How, because you don't mean to necessarily put on this rock exterior that people don't think you have an emotional side, but that's how some people perceive you. Because I
Yeah.
several years back, we were at a softball tournament and my kids were sitting next to me and I'm hugging them and they're little, and I'm hugging them and kissing them. And one of my friend's girlfriends at the time, she goes, Shay, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I would never have expected you to be that kind of mom. I was like, what do you mean? I know. And she's like,
What other
I
way are
just,
you supposed to take
I
that?
know. Well, I was like, well, what do you mean? She goes, I just never expected you to be so lovey and hugging and kissing them. She's like, I picture you this like strong, independent, business woman, badass woman that I didn't know you had that side. I'm like, what the hell?
But are
I'm
your
human
kids
too.
are they supposed to be born out with like suits and
Right.
ties and briefcases and just know how to do life?
I know. I was thinking, I was like, do I have like a shield on? I got like
You
my kids. I'm like,
100% did.
like
Yeah.
they are
If anything,
in
it was a
line.
Wonder Woman one. It was something fantastic. And that was the day she saw that. That's what it was.
Right. Yeah. But I was like, oh, but it's interesting how other people see you, especially on social media and stuff. But when they get to know you personally, they're like, oh my gosh, you do have a heart. You are this great person, I hope people say. But you know,
Yes.
I didn't think that people viewed me like that sometimes, but I'll get people that will be like, Shay, I'm kind of scared of you. I'm like, why? Like, I feel like I'm a really nice person.
Yeah. I
Like, but
think
you just know what you want. Like, you walk in, like, you know what you're doing. And I'm like, probably because I have intentions. Like, I'm there for a reason. I'm going to get in.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And you're a salesman by profession.
Yeah.
So of course, even if you don't know what you want,
Yeah.
you're gonna act like you stinking do.
Yeah.
I don't know. That baffles me. I'm sorry that you had that conversation, but I'm glad that it taught you something in that day. That's
Right. I kind of took it
perception.
as a compliment, I think, but I was like, well, I'm glad you can see the other side of it. But I also walked into my sister's, they have a shop and one of their workers was there. I had to go into the shop to get something and I walked in. He goes, holy shit. Or what are you doing? Are you here to sell something? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, why'd you walk in like that? I'm like, I'm walking. I'm walking normal. What are you talking about?
That was a confident walk. That's
I
how
was
you
like,
do
I think
it.
maybe confidence. I was like, well, if you want to
that's
buy something, let
that's
me
what
know
it
and
was.
I'll help you.
Listen, one time at a 7-Eleven, some guy, I'm in a dress and some heels, and he's like, that's a great walk. And at first I thought, oh my gosh, am I getting hit on? Hit on. And I'm middle aged, I've got grown kids, I don't get hit on. I'm nice and curvy, right? And then I just turned around and was like, what did you say? I was actually very excited. I don't get hit
Yeah,
on. So I'm
flattered.
like, please say it again, right? Kind of, yeah, exactly. Like, what? Come again? And I was very excited to come home and he's like, yeah, it's very confident, almost bossy. I don't like it. So then I was like, oh, I'm
Aw.
that was sad. Yeah. And I was just there to get like a big gulp, like I just
Aw.
I
I
was
thought
so
it would go the
excited
other
to
way.
go
I thought
home
you
and be
were
like,
turned on
I
by
finally
that,
got hit
but
on. But instead some guy's like, you're intimidating. I don't like it. It's not feminine enough.
men,
Yeah.
whatever.
I don't know
Good.
that.
I'm not
Yeah,
meant
it's
for you
okay.
anyway.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I'm like, thank you. Appreciate
I would
it.
take that as a compliment still. So that's too funny. I don't like
I think I probably did, but it wasn't a moment I got to run home and tell my husband like I finally got
right.
hit on. It wasn't one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that would have been a
Yeah.
lot better story for sure.
But people are I think there's a lot of judgment out there and they'll
Mhm.
pass a lot of judgment and I think there's a lot of assumptions out there and they'll pass a lot of
Mhm.
assumptions and I think people just need to take the time to get to know each other,
Yeah.
understand that we're all probably giant teddy bears, right? And if we're not, there's probably some unpacked trauma.
Mhm.
And once you get through that, or you establish that trust and relationship, you're going to get through that.
Mhm.
And then you're going to find that teddy bear in
Yeah.
the ones that aren't because
Right.
they're unpacked trauma. So that's like my whole perspective on
Right.
everybody. Yeah.
Well, and I think that people really need to take a step back and view somebody else's, perspective and point of view
Mm-hmm.
because somebody's we could both be standing in the same room, listening to the same person talk and take what they say in two totally different ways.
Yes.
And the reason that is because of our mental state. So if you and I go into a room and we're listening to a speaker talk and you just had a fight with your husband and your kids and everybody's
Yep.
crazy and I get there and we are having a conversation or and I just, got done having sex with my husband and or
Yeah.
like
Good for
something super
you.
exciting and happy and
Yep.
I get there, my mood is going to be completely different on how I interpret what those people are saying and
Yep.
how you are going to interpret and so, like, even for our daughter, my husband's always trying to figure out, well, what happened? What'd she say? Then what? Then what'd you do? I said, Adam, it doesn't matter because her perspective was her reality. I said, even if you were standing in the room with her and you knew exactly what happened and what those girls did or did not do, you are not going to change her perspective of what happened
Yep.
because it is her reality. I said, you just need to meet her where she's at. Like, how did that make you feel? What could we have done differently? What should you have done? What should you have done? I mean, like you have to go that route. And my aha moment with all of this was about 3 years ago when we were having issues with one of our Airbnbs. Long story, but my mood was elevated way up here because dealing with the city and state fire marshal and all of these things. So my mood was so elevated. My husband's a little bit more cool, calm, and collect in situations like that. So we're
Mm-hmm.
meeting the state fire marshal, the contractor, the building inspector, and the state fire marshal. We just had to move the sprinkler or the smoke detectors because the state or the city inspector told us we had to, so we had to have the electrician come back and redo it. Well, then when we're there with the state fire marshal, he's like, well, that's not right. You guys need to put them here, here, and here. And my husband's like, well, your buddy, the city inspector, is the one who told us to change it. Well, anyway, long story short, I was so elevated. I don't even know really what the conversations were about because I was so mad. And I remember later on, Adam and I, my husband and I, were talking about the conversation. I said, well, this is what they said. And he's like, no, this is what they said. I was like, no, this is what they said. But that kind of like the moment where both of us were in the exact same room, exact same time, dealing with the exact same situation. My state of mind was way elevated. He was a
Yep.
lot calm, but the what they said, I interpreted it completely different than how he interpreted it.
Yep.
That was my like, okay, just because something happens one way or is said one way does not mean that's how somebody else interpreted it. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know. It was a very
It's
interesting situation.
I love that. I also love that you called it an aha moment.
Hmm.
I think that's amazing. I don't particularly know my aha moment, but I do know I recognize that that does happen, you
Yeah.
know, and but I'm also very vocal in, especially work. If I'm going into the office, if I'm in a bad mood, if I didn't have good sleep, if I've got my nerves going crazy because I have nerve damage that I have to navigate forever. Um, I just tell them, hey, heads up, this is my mood today, because now my director Robs knows that I'm probably not going to be responding to emails, and if I do, I'm going to have to take a 24-hour cool off period, right? I'm
Right.
probably not going to be as excited to hop on these referral phone calls with my
Right.
business partner. I'm still going to work, I'm still going to be efficient, I'm still going to get stuff done, but I am very, very open with, here's how my day is starting,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I'm navigating, please forgive me.
Right. I'm gonna say sorry before anything even happens.
Yeah, yeah, just like so, like there'll be conversations and I'll miss all of it, and then I'll just
Yeah.
look at them and they'll be like, "You're so tired." I'm like, "Uh-huh,
Yeah.
yeah, told
Hmm.
you I was. Listen
I
to
think I
none.
told you that
Yeah, I hope
before.
you took notes. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep." So,
You know, that's interesting because it really does come down to learning yourself and your triggers and your
yeah,
emotions and all of that. Because I was saying earlier that I've always struggled with anxiety and depression, mainly depression growing up, and I've always been on meds. But like, and I don't really battle with it as much now. I still take meds, but and I think that was where the whole mental breakdown happened a year and a
yeah.
half.
Oh,
My I thought I could go off my meds and everything was going to be good as long as I ate healthy and worked down. It worked really well for 6 months, and then it was like, boom, nah,
yep,
I'm going to kick you down. But
yep,
anyway, I think that had a little bit to do with it. But I still do know I can do everything right, and I'll still get those days where I can physically feel like in my throat. I feel like the depression coming up in my throat. So I have learned that if I can just talk to my husband or my mom and say, hey, I am feeling like super down today, like super
mm-hmm,
depressed. They used to say, well, what happened? What do you think? You know, no, that there is no reason. There is no reason. And sometimes just me talking to them and saying that, I'm bitter. Sometimes it means, hey, I need to go. I need to go home and I need my husband to hold me for an hour. I don't know.
yeah,
But you just got to learn what your triggers are or those early signs before they get to the point of
yep.
being hard to come back from.
Yeah, I'm glad that you recognize that too, because I think that sharing
Hmm.
that feeling that's in your throat, I think that that is going to help a lot of people who don't share and express that. I don't have an anxiety or depression situation. I'm very hyper.
Yeah.
I I have some sort of hyperactivity, some sort of undiagnosed. I know it. I just know it.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe I do drugs every morning and that's how I start my day. Like I don't know. Maybe I do. But
Sounds exciting.
if I do, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Right.
But I'll have these really, really high hyper days. And then I'll hit this like 2 days of absolutely nothing. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to get dressed. I don't want to get showered. I don't want to whatever. And I'm sure there's probably some high functioning anxiety in there. I just, I'm glad that you have that and speak openly about it, because I'm one of the moms that is out there refusing to go get diagnosed. So,
Yeah.
you know,
So
Yeah.
curious, when you are feeling those lower down days, do you still do the things that you need to do, or
No,
what does that look like?
no, it looks like sleeping in and watching Netflix and getting a to-do list about 2 days behind. Yeah. I really actually don't. I don't. I just don't. They don't come as often as they had in the past, which is great. But they do hit you. They do hit you. It's just a whole level of I'm not doing it anymore.
Right.
I'm not going to. I'm going to find some junk TV. I'm going to
Yeah.
watch that. I'm going to stay in my pajamas. I'm going to get an aroma because I haven't showered.
Yeah. Hey, at least you're honest about
I'm
it.
listening. It gets down to that sometimes, So,
Right.
um, but I think that's great to recognize like what you're saying and then know what makes you feel better about it. I tend to be on a totally opposing end is that I'll get so like worked up, whether it's excited or happy or whatever, that I'm really let down if the next step is not where at matching my level. Those little simple things like I'll get worked up about my birthday and I'll let down if the gifts are poopy, like I'm worked up about Christmas and then let down if, you know, I feel there was no effort. So there's little things
You
like that.
survived in real estate.
I know it's crazy, but you know what? That's because I have a team, and B, my business partner. Like there are days where I'm ready. I'm ready. My fingers are on the keyboard, and I'm about to just school someone who has no idea what they're doing, who decided to get sassy with us. We're dealing with that right now. We have one of those agents right now driving us bunkers, and I just want to rapid fire. And she's like, absolutely not. Give yourself your little coachable 24-hour cool off period.
Right.
Let's respond tomorrow.
Right.
But also when you're
React,
doing
don't respond. Let's react
exactly.
later.
Yep. Yeah. So that's exactly the
No.
practice that
Wait, no. Respond, don't react.
respond, don't react. Yep.
Right. You can respond later.
She'll just, I'm like this little, and then I just go off of my tangent. But if I just say it, I feel better. So now I don't have to type it.
Yeah.
And then she'll just do the responses because she'll just bypass everything that I want to correct someone on,
You know
or
what you
tell
should do
someone that they're doing
actually?
wrong.
Get onto ChatGPT and just be like, type all the things that you want to say and then just say, now make this more professional and just see what it
Yes. Yes. There,
You should
I
definitely
should.
try
I
that.
really actually should.
Right. Yeah. Just type out what you really want to say and then tell ChatGPT, now make this more of a professional and just see what it says. I would love to know.
You know what? You might get a text one day where I'm
Please
like,
do.
here is the situation and here's
Yep.
the ChatGPT response.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
I don't even need to know the situation. Just say, Shay, hey, here's what I wanted to send the email.
You've
This is
asked,
what
I
ChatGPT
deliver.
told me to say. Please do. I want to know. I want to know.
Well, that's like emotionally, that's me. I'll just go in and I'll say, it's starting off rough today, girls. But the good news is with my team, they'll put me right in the right spirit. We all kind of do. We just within minutes, we're all laughing, we're crying, we're practically peeing our pants. It's great. Yeah. So usually it's not something I have to be significantly delayed on. But I do initially want to be the person who's like, actually, per NRS and correct people when they're wrong. And then I'm absolutely confident that I'm right 100% of the time. So, that doesn't help either.
Right.
Yeah.
I know that's actually funny because this morning we have an Airbnb and I donate it occasionally to nonprofit organizations to do their thing.
Yeah.
One of the people they contacted me yesterday, they said, hey, can I get the check-in instructions? I was like, yep, here it is. Never responded. No, thank you. No, nothing.
Oh.
And I told my husband today, I was like, I just want to respond back and say, thank you, you're welcome. And he's like, no, don't do that. But I felt better just saying it out loud. I was like, I'm not going to, but that's what I wanted to say. Like, you're welcome. This is free. It's fine. I blocked off the day just in case anybody else needed to book it.
Here's the way I look at that. And your husband is right. And I'm glad that you didn't do that because it's a beautiful thing that you offer that in the first place. They were probably just so excited to have the opportunity that they didn't think about you in that moment. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
we take things a little bit personally, and especially in business, we can't do that. Like people get busy. But I was super frustrated because I get busy too. But I'm always trying to make sure that let people know that I appreciate them.
Yeah.
But I was frustrated, and after I said it to my husband, I just felt better after I said it out loud.
Yeah.
Don't do
we
that.
had, I know, and stop it. You're wrong.
I know.
Yeah.
I know I can't, but you know what? I want to be immature. Leave me alone.
I love that so much. I'm so sorry. My daughter just had a big recital. You can't see the background because I blurred it. Yay me. But there's a bunch of costumes in my home office right now because she has her photography. And, she's been at this studio since she was 2. She's 17. I have volunteered as a parent since the first recital she's ever been in. So whether that's tickets, front door, child check-in, backstage, it didn't matter. I've always been there. Every recital, I'm totally reliable, totally dependable. Well, they sent out these thank yous for all the volunteers and they didn't do the front of the house, which eliminated, there's 3 to 5 of us, that weren't thanked. In my perspective, that was an error. I know they value me. I know that it's okay. Did it sting a little to hear about? Sure. But I also wasn't in the audience. So I didn't get the emotional side of that. I just heard about it because I was doing my job, my volunteer job, not in the audience. But, to others, it was immensely painful. And they had to make these really hard decisions to say, like, our relationships are probably over and it's never going to help again. And all this other stuff. But sometimes it just happens. Sometimes mistakes are there. And sometimes you're important enough to be thought about, but you're not important enough in that moment, so you just have to remind yourself like that. So I'm glad you didn't send that text.
And I wasn't going to, but part of me just wanted to. So I was like, I'm just going to say this. But that is a good lesson to be learned because we as realtors, honestly, we need to make sure that we are thanking our clients, not always them thanking us, but we want to thank them for their support, referrals, and not only just our clients, but anybody who refers us. So like one thing that I had learned a long time ago, and I feel like I do really good at is treat the referrer better than the referral. That's just a mentality of it. So like when somebody sends you a referral, I always send a thank you via email with a box of brownies. I always send them a text. I might give them a call. And then I always follow up with them all the way through the transaction. So, but it's a good perspective to look at, like when people like to be appreciated. So you also make sure that you are letting people know, not just your clients, but also like the other agents in your office or anybody who's helping you, 1099 contractors. You want to let them know like, hey, you're doing an awesome job. Like I truly appreciate you. But then on the flip side, we also have to realize like, hey, not everybody's going to act that way. Not everybody's always going to be asking or, telling you thank you and giving you a pat on the back. That you have to be okay with that. Because that's what I was telling you earlier before is like, it can be exhausting trying to like always tell people, hey, I appreciate you and try to remember everybody and try not to forget anybody because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And then you're like, well, shit, nobody's like doing anything for me, but it's like, that's the selfish side a little bit, but it's okay.
I think you're right. I think that's absolutely great to hear you say as well. Cause I think I say very similar words in that manner, and it is hard. It is hard every now and then if you've done so much and so much and so much. But if you step yourself out of that, if you take like 10 steps back, everybody there you've done so much for, they know that.
Right.
They know it. Yeah. They know it, but maybe they're so excited to share with someone else. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're so excited to start unpacking what they need to unpack or do what they need to do. So yeah, you just have to move on. Yeah, just move on. Yeah. And then ask yourself, am I going to sleep well over this? Circle back to the top sentence of our intro. Right. You're going to sleep well over it. So it's okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Tell me a little bit about your 2 quotes. We'll jump into that because I really, really like them. I've never heard them before, but so kind of going back to those, the greatest man is always willing to be little, and then build a longer table, not a higher fence. So kind of tell me where those came from.
I don't even know off the top of my head who said them. Right. Yeah, sorry. I'd have no idea.
Well, I meant how did they come to be about your life, and how do they resonate with you?
Oh gosh. Okay. So the greatest man is always willing to be little is huge. This one's huge for me. Well, I grew up in a very small little town in Northern California, and at some point in my like junior high school career, it was a methamphetamine capital of the world. And so people there don't have money. They barely finish school. It's actually so bad that I hate going home. Like even today, as a 43-year-old mom, I hate going home. And my family is there, but I hate it. I really, really hate it. And throughout high school, I had some great support that kind of led me into a different direction. You know, when you have family and cousins and friends and nieces and aunts and uncles and everyone, and they all have issues. They all are on some sort of drug or can't maintain some sort of job or can't pay their bill. It was very overwhelming, like from an outside perspective, as just a kid trying to like grow up in this world. It was very, very hard. So I wouldn't say I had a rough upbringing, but I would say I didn't have a luxurious one. You know, I didn't have one that was super comfortable. And my dad was an alcoholic, and that was a whole nother game in itself because for some reason it was bypassed by half my family that he was. I mean, I recognized it. I knew that by seventh grade. So it was just really difficult. So, but I had this support in high school. It was like, get out there, do good for your community. You're going to feel good about yourself, because the one thing I never had growing up was I never, ever, ever felt good about myself when nobody's coming to my sporting events, you know, when nobody's coming to my word ceremonies, when nobody's offering to pick me up from things. And like now that I'm older, I get it. Life was busy for my parents and they had other things. But also it wasn't like, why was it too busy for me? You know? So I was like the super overachiever, could do nothing wrong, excellent grades, could get into any college. I mean, I literally did nothing wrong growing up, and I felt like I was just continuously punished. And I'm sure this would be hard for my mom to hear one day down the road, but it is what it is. I felt like that. So my whole thing is, in high school, I was told to be courteous and be kind and be helpful and do all these things. So I joined all these different programs, all these different clubs, and I just loved it. And and some of the best people in my life were at the time that were helping mold me, right? They were very successful and they lived in fancy homes and they drove their fancy cars and they did all their things. But they, you know, they would meet me at a Kiwanis event at 5 o'clock in the morning to have scrambled eggs with a bunch of Kiwanis members as a 15-year-old girl trying to get a scholarship, you know? So I was not too bad for them. I was not too gross for them. I was definitely valued in that way, that there was no issues or areas or concerns. And so to me, it was just, they were never too arrogant. They weren't too full of themselves. They weren't too proud. They weren't any of that. And so that made me feel really comfortable. So I do well in this situation where as long as you're not arrogant, I want you to be confident. I want you to share what you worked hard for. I want you to encourage and teach and grow, but I don't want you to be arrogant. I want you to know that you can be as little as someone like me felt, and totally make a connection, and probably even a deeper one than if you're not little enough to get down on someone's level. So that one is just a reminder for me. That was like a full-on high school impact situation. And then obviously I kind of, you live by that life. You just be helpful and do what you can. And um and so that's where the greatest man is always willing to be little. I want you to tell me that you're successful. I want you to tell me that you're really proud of yourself, because I want to cheer that too. I really, really do. But I never want you to be too good for someone else. Never. And a matter of fact, you start even give me an inkling that you're too good for someone else, you're probably not the person for me. Whether it's a friend, family, it doesn't matter. So and I've made those decisions as an adult. I've made those decisions where I've looked at people and I thought, wow, they're so fun. They're pretty cool. I think we'll be friends. And then I quickly realized, never in my life, that's not the person I'm going to surround myself with. So that's quote number one. Yeah. Quote two is just being reminded that no matter where your blessing is, like, it doesn't matter where you are in your life. If you've got $1 and someone else, that doesn't have $1, right, really could use $1, it becomes a want for you and a need for them. You really need to weigh what's more important. And I think a need will always outweigh a want. And we're grateful in that manner, have worked so hard and have a life. And I don't have a luxurious life. I own a real estate team and I live in a little fixer upper on a busy street just because I wanted to get my kids into the right school zoning. And we all drive older cars. I don't even have a fancy car, so but But if I have a little t-ball player whose mom is strung out on drugs, bet your Benz, I'm going to practically kidnap him and let him stay with me long enough until mom gets clean. And when I have another, kid's friend who's not going to be able to make it because his mom can't figure out life, I'm going to take that kiddo in too, and put him in school and make sure he's got a great path. And you're just always going to make sure that your house is open and it's a safe place, and someone or someone maybe you don't know can come here, and you're going to look out for your community. You're going to be on there, and you're going to talk, and you're going to share, like, I heard this horrible story, or I know this lady who knows this lady, right? Or we're just going to randomly see someone who's like, I need $100, I'm short on rent. Well, if I've got $100, we're going to make that happen. So I just firmly believe in making sure that you're taking care of those around you in that manner, to help them get that leg up. And so and I do know people, and I know them here on a local level, that they think that that's silly. And there's actually even real estate books that talk about never giving out your money and not being a contribution in this manner. And I refuse. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be me. There are far too many problems that are much bigger than the fact that I occasionally have nerve damage running down my legs, or that my whole house is sick. There are much, much bigger problems out there that need attention. And so you have to invite them to sit down at your table. You have to invite those conversations, and you have to share that passion and that will and that drive. And it doesn't mean I'm involved with a million nonprofits, and it doesn't mean that I contribute a bajillion dollars of my income. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that I'm listening, I'm sharing, I'm paying attention, and I'm sincere to it. So we encourage that with my family. They're the same way. My kids are the same manner. They want to be helpful and honest and transparent, but also there for their community and looking. And so that's kind of what the longer table is don't shut that out. Like, don't shut out the actual necessities, like keep that like wide open. Now, is it totally different if like someone needs like methamphetamine? Sure, that's a different story. Maybe your need isn't drugs, maybe your need is rehab, like yeah, there's obvious like things that, but yeah, it's just being kind in that perspective, right? Just being kind. Yeah, it's so important. And it's why you volunteer. Yeah. It's why you sign up for too many things that you really don't have the time to do. It's why you buy the table or the ticket or the seat for the gala or the venue or the event. And it's why you bring your checkbook to every single one. Which, who even has checkbooks anymore? But that's what I bring my checkbooks for. It's you support the booster, and you support the program, and you do the silent auction, and you do the raffle, because even if you aren't familiar with what you're sitting there for, you're helping somebody who needs it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's what that is for me. There's your two breakdowns, some really long breakdowns there.
Well, and I've sat at some tables and in rooms with people who are literally worth billions of dollars. And I'll tell you, those conversations and those people are some of the most amazing people I've ever met.
Yeah.
One time did I feel that they felt better than me and bigger than me. And I actually didn't even know they were worth so much until later on, where I've sat in rooms where people are worth probably a good amount of money, but they showed it, and they were ignorant and they were arrogant. And I'm like, you're an asshole. He's like, that's fine. I don't care. Yeah. I'm like, okay, bye. Like,
I'm glad you said asshole before me. Listen, that's our career. That's the industry that we're in, right? You get that first, second, third, 10th, 20th paycheck, and all of a sudden your fancy sports car, super cocky, arrogant. Oh, look at me talk. I don't care. I don't care about any of that. Are you a nice person? Do you do good things? Do you work really hard for yourself, your family, your community? Right? I like to take a step back and kind of make those observations. And I like to know that you can't be an asshole and throw 10 grand at a nonprofit a year and call yourself an amazing human. You know what I mean? Because nobody sat at your table while you were being that asshole. Nobody did. Nobody freaking did. You built the taller fence. You kept everybody out. You're so freaking cocky and arrogant. I'm all for confidence. I want you to be confident. I want you to be amazing. I want you to be proud of yourself. I want you to share your accolades. I want you to scream from the rooftops that you've got this award and you can't believe you worked so hard and all. I want all of that in this industry, but I can eyeball you so quickly. That's how some people say, like, what are you really good at finding out? I'm really good at finding out if you're an asshole.
Right.
I'm real good at it.
Right.
Like
Mm-hmm.
real good. I'll know in 2 seconds. I'll be like, you're a douche. So we're moving on.
I
Yeah.
don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah. Doesn't mean you can't be a great real estate agent. Doesn't mean you can't be a great lender. Doesn't mean you can't be a great title representative or executive or whatever it is you are. But it just means that you're not for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was I've turned down people for listings like builders and other
Yeah.
realtors because I'm like, I cannot work with you. That paycheck is not worth my reputation. It is not worth my mental health. It is not worth me dealing with you as an asshole. And I
Yeah.
don't want people to think that I agree with your beliefs.
You have to make those decisions. But that's
Yeah.
why you go into business for yourself, right? Is so that you have the option to make those decisions as you're going along. You can sit there and say, we're not for each other. Like I I don't do a chip on it. And maybe it's where I grew up, maybe it's from not knowing money or funds or, you know, things like that. But you can't. Yeah. And if you're a one upper, you're done. You're really done in my head. You're out of there.
Yeah.
The one
I
uppers, those are good ones.
I like buying investment properties. I'm not a materialist. I am not a materialistic person. My husband and people
Yeah.
know that I'm a very cheap person. But I like buying investment properties. I'm so cheap that we went to a Nebraska volleyball last year because it was in the stadium, me and my friends. And I was literally, to me, I didn't think anything of it, but I wore clothes that I was wearing back in college. I wore a
Oh,
Nebraska tank
to
top,
be
jean
that
shorts
little.
that I wore back in college. And
That
my
is
friends were
amazing.
making fun of me so much, so much. And they're like, Shay, come on, it's been like 13 years. Like, let those clothes go. Let them go. And
Uh,
so I did end up buying another shirt, but I didn't throw it away. I wasn't going to throw that tank top away because it still fit.
no,
So
yeah.
I tucked it into my pants. Well, then we met up with another college friend, and I overheard her, and she goes, "Didn't Shay have those shorts in college?" They burst out laughing. They make fun of me so much for it. I'm like, I'm not a materialistic person. Like, I don't need. Like, I'm not joking. This shirt was from Temu, and it was like $3.
Oh, I've done the Timu rounds, but
Yeah.
nothing ever comes where I
Really?
you know what?
Oh, yeah.
I
There's
have a
not.
bunch of like charms on my bracelet, like
Yeah.
not Pandora,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
those are all cute. But no, I've had to send a lot back. I love that. I have a lot of people in my life that they have money and they're great and they do what they want with it. And I think that's fantastic because you work hard for it. And I want you to go enjoy and
Should be
do all
able
the
to.
things you want to do and to buy expensive clothes and carry. I mean, I bought my first Louis Vuitton last year. I was very excited. It is the cutest bag in the history of the world. Um, and I do occasionally wear it, but just don't be mean. Just
Yes.
don't be mean. Don't be mean. Don't be mean. Yeah. And just, that's I probably rule
Be
number.
true to yourself.
Maybe that's my quote. Don't be mean. Maybe that's it. Maybe
Don't
that's
be an
like
asshole.
my like, yeah,
That's what it is.
I'm kind of
Don't be an
okay. Like,
asshole. That's your
yeah,
quote.
I think so. I think you're right. Don't be an asshole. Because that to me, you can have no money, you can have some money, you can have lots of money. But if you are not a kind person, it's going to show either with a chip on your shoulder, it's going to show with an attitude, it's going to show with your lack of concern, lack of care, lack of passion, right? Then you're out of here. You're out of
And
here.
I
You've
always,
built a taller fence.
right. And I've always said, if you're an asshole and you have money, you're just an asshole with money.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an asshole and you're broke, you're just a broke asshole. So
Yeah.
money doesn't make you a bad person. It just highlights who you truly are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
that's
think
how
it
I've
really,
always seen it.
yeah, I think you're right. I like that too. I'm gonna jot that down.
Okay,
I'm
Shauna,
gonna jot
so
that down.
we'll kind of wrap up now, but what is one piece of advice that you would give maybe either the younger version of yourself or maybe somebody new starting into the entrepreneurship realm? What is one piece of advice you would give them?
Oh, get yourself a team of support. That's it. Don't go alone.
No.
I have no other news for someone starting. If whether you're a young woman, a young girl, young mom, a new career choice, someone
Right.
find your support. Find that first. Share your passion, share your drive, share your goals, and make sure because my goal and something I'm very, very good at is making sure that everyone I know that's working hard has a cheerleader, and that's me. And I will cheer them all day long. I will cheer them morning, noon, and night. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and cheer them in my sleep. I don't care. If you've come to me at some point and you said, I needed help, I needed this, I needed that, and you were put in the right direction from whoever it was, maybe it's a coach, directional, business partner, business associate, friend, family member, I don't care, husband, wife, right? And then you're going for it. I'm going to cheer you on. And I had the best support system when I said I wanted to get into real estate. And that was my husband, because he said, you will be good at it. You will actually be great at it. This is a great career choice for you. And I have continuously had that support system forever. Now I have it in my team and my business partner. I have it within my brokerage, right? And I now in return provide that there. And I have noticed that those who want to have success into entrepreneurship have a great system behind them. A couple good people to spitball some ideas off of, brainstorm some great idea, suggestions and plans, and to curate their business plan and see what that looks like, because you need that cheerleader. I don't care what you're getting into. Right. I don't care what you're getting into in life. Get a support system. Have a couple good, solid people in your life who say, this is great.
Yeah.
What do we need to do to help you get there?
Yeah. They say it always takes a village to raise a kid or kids, but it also takes a village to run a business, and it takes a village to live life anymore. So you need to find your people, and you need to find them. Yeah, you do. You do.
Just and find them.
That's what this whole Real Moms group is about, is like, I want people to find their people and be able to support one another, because we're going to have hard times. I don't care how long you've been in the business, whether you're brand new or 20 years into it. I want a community of like-minded mompreneurs where we can support one another, because I'm going to have another hard time and I'm going to need somebody to pick me up. And I am at this point in time, I can pick other people up, but I know I'm going to need it in the future. So we need a community of women, especially, to help pull each other and push each other and support each other to help us get through those hard times.
It is so valuable. And you know what? This is a strong career path for a lot of us right now. We're pretty dominant, right? And we're good at what we do, but we understand it. Yeah. We pick up quickly, right? Yeah. We're a great support system for each other. And yeah, I think it's going to be beautiful. I can't wait to see where real estate is in 5 years with women, and 10 years with women, and entrepreneurship as a whole. How many additional business owners we have that are women. It's very empowering for me to be an owner of an all women's team, a co-owner of an all women's team with some fantastic women on my team, and to say, holy smokes, we're continuous top producers. We're continuously accoladed. Like, this is fantastic. Let's keep this going, but we work really hard. We're hard workers, Shea. Yeah. We're hard workers. Yeah. Let's keep being hard workers, and let's keep being, some of that encouragement and positivity that other young entrepreneur moms probably need, because they're gonna need it. Yeah.
They are. And I hope this podcast is a resource for everybody. And I know that anybody that I've had as a guest on my show is willing to lend a helping hand for those who are listening, who need a little bit of advice. So, Shauna, by saying that, what if somebody is wanting to reach out, getting a little bit of encouragement, needing a little bit of advice or a little bit of help, or if they're looking to buy and sell in your area, how can they get a hold of you?
Oh, it's so easy. Your quickest and best bet, because obviously I love talking, is to pick up the phone. 775-530-7294. That will reach me directly. That's not a Google Voice number. That's not a spammy little phone. That is my actual phone. You can call me if you need support, you have questions, you have concerns, you want to grow a team, you don't know what direction you're in, you need some help with your brokerage, whatever it is that I can guide you with. But also, if you just want to talk about confusion and children and navigating life and illnesses and sicknesses and growing up and kicking kids out and bringing kids in, whatever it is, I'm here to help. We have a team inbox. It's really long. So if you do know someone, but looking to buy or sell in Northern Nevada, you can reach us. We love referrals. That's predominantly our business. A little over 80% of our business year-over-year is direct referrals, which is fantastic. And we're relocation specialists in general. But you can reach us at, here you go. It's red. So long. Are you ready? McKenna Shauna at McKenna Shauna Home Team in like Nancy V like Victor for Nevada.com. And I'm not kidding. So McKenna at McKennaShaunaHomeTeam.com. So part of our branding a few years ago, we thought that would be funny. Okay. And now it's the longest email.
So I thought mine was bad with, we have an investment email, providing property solutions, info at providingpropertysolutions.com, but at least that can, people can.
We didn't even info at McKenna Shauna Home Team. We just McKenna Shauna at. It was hysterical, because we thought about the MSHT. Nobody's going to know what that is. So we went full on that one.
We'll make sure we'll put that in the description so people don't need to try to write it.
Yeah, don't even write it. Just call me and be like, hey, listen, my niece is there and she needs to buy a condo. And I will say, great. And then I will text you the email address. Look how easy that is. That's a problem solver too. But I do love helping.
Yeah.
And I would open up any and all conversation from anywhere, because I love women, and let's make us stronger together. Yeah, it'll be good.
I appreciate that. Well, yeah. I appreciate that, Shauna. And thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thanks for having me.
And that wraps up another inspiring episode of the Real Moms Podcast. A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their story and insights today. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And hey, sharing is caring, right? Share this podcast with your fellow mompreneurs, friends, and anyone who you feel could use a dose of inspiration. Share it on your social media as well. But most importantly, if you found this episode helpful, please, please, please leave me a 5-star review. This helps get our information out to those who have never heard or seen us before. Are you feeling inspired and you're sure that you could add some value to the podcast? Shoot me a message and let's talk. We love hearing from you. So connect with us on social media. Tag me at Shea J Spitz. That's ShaeJSpitz. And share your thoughts and takeaways, or even suggest topics you'd like to have us explore more in the future episodes. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Your resilience is your strength, and your pursuit of abundant living is truly remarkable. As always, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep embracing the beautiful chaos of being a mompreneur. Until next time, take care, stay real, and keep living abundantly.